Welcome to the golf edition of Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's summer golf wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define golf across South Australia and beyond. It's time to talk golf with sports commentator Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Thanks, Wallace. Hello, everyone. This is a bonus, very, very special episode of Hooked on Sport. The question, ANWA. What the heck is ANWA? Well, I'll tell you what, the best way to explain everything you need to know about ANWA, and probably all the stuff you don't really need to know, but are going to find out anyway, is to bring the experience, insight, and expertise of Sophie Hilditch into the conversation. Soph, hello. Very, very special time for ANWA and South Australians right now. Tell us why.
Yeah, 100%. It's a special time to be celebrating. Well, is it ANWA or ANWA? I never know. I'm hearing both at the moment, and I tend to go ANWA, but you've hit off the show with ANWA.
Let's call the whole thing off. You say ANWA, I say ANWA. Potato, potato.
But no, of course, it's a very, very special week. I always love the ANWA, the Augusta National Women's Amateur. But this week, for South Australians in particular, we have Raegan Denton to be the first South Australian to ever even gain entry into the ANWA. And she will be competing commencing on the 2nd of April. And boy, are we excited.
Yeah, it is going to be amazing. For those who are not familiar with ANWA, tell us a little bit about the history of the tournament and how it's going to play out this week.
Yeah, so ANWA is an international... There I go, ANWA again. ANWA is an international field of 72 women amateurs who will compete over 54 holes of stroke play. A cut will take place after 36 holes, which is played at Champions Retreat Golf Club. But then the leading 30 players plus ties will head over to play their final round on the Sunday at Augusta National Golf Club. This event is so incredibly special. It was announced in 2018 by the chairman, Fred Ridley, during his annual press conference at the Masters tournament. The event has been established to inspire greater interest and participation in the women's game. And we get to see Augusta played in a completely different light. Hooky, it's not just a bomb and gouge like we see with the men and shots that we can't even imagine to play. The women play it traditionally. Only your biggest hitters will take on the risk of hitting the par fives in two, particularly on the 15th hole, which is surrounded by water. You'll see so many more layups. There'll be layups, tricky chip shots from uneven lies, strategic plays to the middle of the greens, utilising the slopes in the greens to feed the ball towards the holes. It is Augusta in a light we never see. It's a traditional light, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, your point's really well made. This is how Augusta was originally designed to be played. Mm-hmm. It was designed that the approach into 13 was really difficult, really challenging. You need a left to right ball shape off a right to left fairway lie. 15 is all about, are you prepared to take on the water but hit it with enough elevation that you can get it to stop? And when men's professional golfers are hitting 8 and 9 iron into 13 and 7 and 8 iron into 15, the challenge isn't really there. Whereas what we're going to see from the women is they're going to be taking some lumber into those sorts of holes. And do they have the kahunas, if you like, to take on what is a pretty huge gamble? So that is the beauty of it. Its origins are interesting. So if you talked about that it wanted to, I guess, make a real statement for the women's game. I think we all know deep down that Augusta National has had a women's problem for pretty much its entire existence. And therefore that was a part of its the reason for developing it. It's almost a little bit like the way the AFL sort of created the AFLW out of thin air very quickly when it had its own women's problem. It has been caused quite the ripple effect on professional women's golf, because the ANA Inspiration, which was always the major tournament that was played the week before the Masters, just every single bit of the air got sucked out of the ANA Inspiration, because all of the eyeballs, all of the attention around women's golf was absolutely firmly focused on ANWA. And it's pretty remarkable that these girls that really no one knows, unless it's, family, friends and absolute nuffies like you, no one else is going to know anything about these people. But because it's Augusta National and because it's the course played as we want to see it played, I think it has really attracted an incredible audience. And sure enough, the ANA Inspiration not only got moved to a different time slot, it got moved to a different course and now has a different name. So it's been quite the imprint on women's amateur and women's professional golf over the course of the first 7 years of its existence, if you like, if you include the year it wasn't played in 2020. Before we jump into the 2026 field, Soph, why don't you tell me about the history of the event and the importance of Augusta National, I guess, hosting these top, not just the college golfers that are stars around the US, but they really are. One thing I will say they have genuinely made the effort to do, and Raegan Denton is the perfect example of that, is they've really made the effort to include internationals in the field. And I think we've seen, 3 of the 6 winners are international players.
Yeah, you make a really good point. And I love all the points that you made about, well, one, Augusta National wasn't that open to women, but 2, why are people watching amateur golfers that they don't necessarily know and they're not household names yet? But you're dead right. It's because it's a relatable game that we can watch and it's Masters in a completely different light. But
can I just butt in? Can I butt in? Because a lot of my mates who are, good golfers, they might play off scratch or, 1 or 2, and they'll always say, oh yeah, I love watching the women's game because I can really relate to it. No, you can't. You cannot. These girls would dust you in an instant. These women play off +5, +6, +8 in some circumstances. So do not come to me with your 1 or 2 handicap and tell me that you are competing with the absolute, the number 1 amateur player in the world, because frankly, you are not.
You're 100% right. But I guess what we can say is it's how they should be playing it. It's a bit more relatable in that sense, in terms of like the distances that they're hitting are somewhat attainable every, 1 in 100 shots that they hit. But this event has brought on celebrities watching it, like Niall Horan from One Direction, who actually in himself is doing amazing things for golf, particularly in Europe. He has his own program where he sponsors a bunch of golfers, but he's out there watching and celebrities are getting drawn in. Amateurs hold off turning professional if they get an ANWA invite. And this event completely highlights the up-and-coming stars for the women's game. It is a breeding ground for future LPGA players. In just 5 years, ANWA has already seen 4 participants go on to win major champions. That's being Jennifer Kupcho, the 2022 Chevron Championship, Yuka Sasso, 2021 and 2024 US Women's Open, Alison Corpuz, 2023 US Women's Open winner, and Maya Stark, the 2025 US Women's Open. For the winner of ANWA, if she remains an amateur, she will gain access to the next 5 Augusta National Women's Amateurs, but she also gains access to all the majors throughout that next year, which is just an incredible, incredible opportunity. But it's undeniable. Yeah,
go on. Sorry. Yep. No, I'm listening. Yeah, you are on a roll, and why would I get in your way?
Why would you stop me? But it's undeniable, Ben, that I think the Augusta National is a course that junior golfers grow up watching. It's where they've watched Rory McIlroy win the Grand Slam, Tiger Woods make his return and win the 2019 Masters. They've seen many, many of the people drown their hopes on that par 312. Adam Scott be the first Australian to ever don that green jacket by going into a playoff and absolutely just drowning that 20-foot putt on the 10th hole. They've seen heartbreak, triumph, and pure passion at the Masters. And to play this event, I think, is a real privilege. To walk the fairways of their golfing idols. I think world number 4 amateur, which is Farah O'Keefe, who's about to play this week, said it best. She said to walk down the fairways or stand on the tee box feeling like your heart is in your stomach is a privilege. And I think for them, winning the Augusta National Women's Amateur would be incredible. But just to walk around Eamon's Corner and see the Masters is enough in itself to be part of that history.
Sophie, spoken so beautifully. There is an exception to every rule. And there is one exception to the rule of all of these young women who would have studied Augusta, watched the Masters tournament, known it in and out, is our own Raegan Denton, who I interviewed for Golf Australia magazine during the Women's Australian Open. So we're going back about 3 weeks now. And I said to her, are you a nuffy like the rest of us? And even though you're yet to have been there, you know exactly which way one goes and what happens on the par 5 second and the uphill par 3 third and the par 3 fourth and so on and so on. She said, I don't know the first thing about it. I have never watched the tournament in my life. In fact, I don't watch any golf. I find golf really boring to watch. I'm just happy to play. But here we have Raegan Denton is going to set foot on Augusta National. And quite frankly, she's got no idea about it. Now, she does have one in her corner. She's got two in her corner, actually. And you'll know this story, Soph, so I don't know why I'm telling you. You should be telling me. But Adrian Wickstein is going to be her caddy for this event. He's the Golf South Australia high performance boss, an expert in golf. But I would regard Adrian as Nuffy level Sophie Hilditch. That's how serious Nuffy he is. And he will understand this course like the back of his hand. But a good friend of yours and a great friend of Raegan Denton, Zoe Manton, is going over to watch on as Raegan Denton takes on the best amateurs in the world in this event. And she does know this course back to front. So ironically enough, I had a bit of a back and forth with Zoe on email while she was on her flight. I mean, the things you can do these days is pretty incredible. But even Raegan said that Zoe, she would actually like to have her in her yardage book, because Zoe may as well be it. She'll be able to tell all of the yardages off by heart. And she's never even been there herself. So, Raegan Denton, an exception to your rule.
Yeah, she definitely is. I actually interviewed her for a women's in golf event, and she asked me, she was like, oh, what are the kind of, topics you want to talk about? And I said, oh, well, of course, ANWA's going to be one of the topics, and I might ask you, what's your favorite hole? And she goes, I'm going to have to message Zoe Manton because I have no idea what my favorite hole is. Something about azaleas, she said. And I was like, yeah, you mean the pink flower that is everywhere and is literally the symbol of the Masters. But yes, thank you.
That is just absolutely priceless. Righto, Sophie, let's focus in on the 2026 field. Who should we be looking out for?
Okay, difficult question. It's a field of players which includes 48 of the top 50 amateurs in the world.
Oh, it's an outrageous field. I mean, this is as good an amateur event as you would get anywhere in the world. US women's amateur, British women's amateur. This is the number one now, I think.
100%. And look, I think from my personal experience of watching the ANWA, the Champions Retreat, where the first 36 holes are played, is the harder of the courses. It's long, it's exposed to wind, and it makes the cream rise to the top. So I'm going to go first off the bat with Megha Garnett, Stanford University student and world number 6. In 2025, she shot the first round scoring record of 9 under par, 63 at Champions Retreat. It's not just the first round scoring record, it's the lowest round ever carded at ANWA. This will be her 6th attempt at lifting that trophy. And if history prevails, knowledge around Augusta is pertinent in lifting that trophy. So for me, Megha Garnett is my top pick.
It's interesting you say Stanford, because the number 2 and 3 in the world, Paula Martin San Pedro and Andrea Revuelta, they are also at Stanford at number 2 and 3 in the world. So that's a reasonably accomplished college side, you would say. You talk about 48 out of 50 in the world. Who is the number 1 amateur player in the world right now?
Well, that is Chiara Romero. She made her debut at ANWA in 2024, where she actually missed the cut. However, 2 years later, Romero is world number 1. She's made the cut at the US Women's Open. She's won 6 times in college. Perhaps she was a little bit intimidated when she made her debut at ANWA, but in 2025, she was joint leader after 36 holes of Lottie Woad. I think the pressure maybe was a little bit high. There were crowds on the tee blocks, and she did not have her best in her final round. She still finished with a top 10, but she would not have been happy. But now, on her own admittance, her ball striking is really good coming into this event. She's thinking smarter, focusing on the right spots. She's not changing her practice to suit Augusta, but strengthening her game with these high baby draws. Her game is clearly matured, and I'd argue she's ready to take on the strategic challenge of Augusta after experiencing the final group in 2025. So I think she's really well placed for ANWA this year.
Beautiful. Soph, what about, I reckon I'd like you to identify for me someone who maybe has had a bit of success around this place before.
Well, that's easy for me, and it's someone that I've been looking out for a while. It's Bailey Shoemaker. She takes in my number three tip to be winning this tournament. This will be her fifth appearance, and she finished runners up in 2024, karting a 66 at Augusta. She's in 2018, she finished runners up at the girls 12 to 13 division in the drive, chip, and putt. So she definitely knows Augusta very well. I think she's thirsty for a win and not just another runners up. In 2025, she actually required surgery for an upper limb injury and was out of golf, but she's now back and she's returning with a vengeance. She is roaring, ready to go. She actually hits a high ball and she's hitting it further than she used to. Her wedge game has improved significantly, adding diversity around the greens. She's not just a one-shape hitter, which is really vital around Augusta. And like you identified earlier on this show, we've got to play this very strategically, particularly in the females game. And it is going to require hitting different shapes off lies that don't necessarily make you want to hit those shapes. So for me, Bailey Shoemaker is definitely someone to be looking out for.
Can I just say that per capita, ANWA players have the greatest names in the history of any sport anywhere. Wasn't the runner-up last year Asterisk Tally or something like that? They've got so many cool names. Lottie Wode, even that is just a wonderful, it's such an English name to come across. That's three for us, Soph. Bailey Shoemaker, Chiara Romero, as you said, and the third one, of course, was at the top, Mega Gane. Give me one more to get us home. Who's your roughie, if you like?
Hooky, how could I not choose our own Raegan Denton, world number 37, winner of the 2026 Masters of the Amateur. She's our only Australian in the field, so we have to root for her, but boy, gosh, do I want to root for her. She's just had a round of Cameron Smith around in the United States. She's bringing her family, she's bringing her friends, so she's going to have that feel of home around in those busy crowds. She hits a high draw, which I keep on saying, draws around Augusta are perfect for the female game. She's used to slick greens. She knows how to play smart. It may be her debut and we're incredibly proud, but she's not just there to compete, Hooky. She's there to become the first Australian to win this event.
Yeah, well, it's going to be eyes glued for any South Australian who loves their golf. We hope that she makes it through to what will be Sunday morning, South Australia time. It's a Saturday afternoon final round over there at Augusta, Georgia. So, yes, Raegan Denton, come on. We would love to see her do it in what's been a pretty incredible week for South Australia after winning the Sheffield Shield. If we could do the double with the ANWA, that would be something pretty incredible, wouldn't it? What have you got to wrap us up?
Hooky, I'm going to give you a bit of an ANWA quiz. I've got this quiz set up.
A quiz?
Yep,
Oh, no.
It's multiple choice.
I would have done a little bit of reading. I thought you had all the answers here.
No, I'm curious to see what your knowledge is like, and maybe we'll give you a quiz at the end of the 2026 ANWA to see whether or not you've improved. But Hooky, I think our listeners are going to love to see you have a crack at this. So will you indulge me? Will you join my quiz?
I'll have a go. Yeah. I mean, I have been listening to what you've been saying, so I'm hoping that you've given me some clues on the way through in the last 15, 20 minutes.
When do I ever help you out, Hooky?
No, never once in our 9-month podcast. What do you call your podcast wife? There's got to be some sort of nickname for that, something along the lines of your podcast partner. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you've never helped me, so I'm not expecting any help now.
Well, I'm starting you off easy. Who was the first winner of ANWA in 2019? A, Jennifer Kupcho. B, Maria Fassi. C, Lynn Grant.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you gave me multiple choice. I don't know that I would have remembered who won it, but I do remember it was either a playoff or I don't think it was a playoff, but it was certainly a battle between Maria Fassi and Jennifer Kupcho, and I'm pretty certain it was Jennifer Kupcho who won.
Yeah, you're dead right. It was Jennifer Kupcho, and you're right as well. This was played in such great spirits. She actually got a migraine, Hooky, in the middle of that round, and she had to rely solely on her caddy to read putts and even to see where the ball's going. It's interesting at the ANWA, they play Thursday, Friday, and then every single player in the field, regardless of whether or not you make the cut, gets to have a practice round at Augusta. And then from there, the players who do make the cut get to choose whether or not they want to use the same caddy they've been using for the first 2 days, or if they want to use one of the local caddies. And she chose to use one of the local caddies, which I think ended up working in her favour because she shot 5 under in her last 6 holes to eventually lift up that trophy. But I mean, the trust to be able to trust a local caddy that you don't even know.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. Jennifer Kupcho, the first ever winner of ANWA. All right, I'm 1 from 1.
All right, number 2. This one's just for you, Hooky. Who is the first left-hander to win ANWA? A, Sumin O, B, Anna Davis, C, Catherine Park.
Okay. So being a left-hander myself, I knew that there was a left-hander who won it. And I'm just going on the fact that I think Anna Davis won it, and I don't think the other two did. And that could be wrong, but I think the answer is Anna Davis.
2 out of 2, Hooky. Anna Davis in 2022. She was only 16, and she is the youngest to have
16.
16. Youngest to ever lift the trophy, and she's back in the field this year as well.
Yeah, she's on that 5-year exemption in.
She sure is.
Pro. She keeps getting a start.
All right, another one for you. Bit tougher, bit tricky. Which winner has the championship record? A, Rosang, B, Carla Bernat Escuda, or C, Lottie Wode?
Okay. I don't think it's Rosang, only because I remember she pumped one in the water on the 15th, and I feel like if she did win, and I can't even remember if she won, but I just feel like that wouldn't have been a championship record score. So I'm down to 2. I'm going to go Lottie Wode, but that is an absolute guess.
It's a solid guess, and it was definitely a trick question. It's Carla in 2025. She shot 12 under over the 54 holes, and actually it was 3 rounds straight of a 68.
Right. Okay. So what did Lottie Wode shoot?
I can't remember off the top of my head. That's a very good question.
It wasn't as good as 12 under.
Wasn't as good as 12 under. I'm going to go 9 under, but that's a guess.
All right. So I'm 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Not too bad.
That bloke who said that wasn't too bad when he sang about it.
And there's only 5 questions, so 2 out of 3 is pretty good.
2 to come. Okay. So all right. I've got to try and stay in front of the 50. I'd like to beat 50% here. Go for it.
All right. How many playoffs have there been to lift the trophy? A, 0, B, 3, C, 2.
Oh, I don't think there's been a playoff. I'm going to say 0.
Sorry, Hooky, there's been 2. This is going to leave number 5 risky. Yeah, 2021 winner who was Subasa Kajitani. She won a one-hole playoff to become the first international ANWA champion and the first winner from Japan ever at Augusta National. She was before Hideki.
Wow.
And 2023 winner, you identified her, Rose Zhang. She shot 76 in her final round to then have to go into a 2-hole playoff, and she managed to get the job done. So, yes, 2 playoffs.
Geez, I was off there, right. Geez, I've wobbled home. So I feel like young Isabel Watson that we talked about playing for Blackwood. She was Doggy 5, ended up getting up over Jill Hodge 2 and 1.
Well, it's one last question. I've got faith that you're going to do this one. One last question. How many world-ranked number 1 amateurs have won this event?
Oh, okay. Well, if Lottie Wode won it, I'm sure she was world number 1, and Rose Zhang was definitely world number 1. So my guess will be 2.
Yeah, and you're dead right. It's 2. I didn't even have to give you the multiple choice. So well done, Hooky.
Oh, I jumped straight in. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking of all the names we've been talking about. I mean, Rose Zhang came into that tournament like she was going to win it with a leg in the air. You know, that everyone sort of suggested that she was 10 shots better. And I remember you were talking about the story. You get the choice of whether you're going to take your own caddy or a professional Masters caddy. And she took her dad, and her and her dad were arguing on that 15th hole. I completely remember that. But she came into that tournament a huge favourite to win, and just sort of fell in on that. Well, now I know on that playoff. But then Lottie Wode, she was the story of women's professional golf last year when she was still an amateur and just dominating, and then turned professional halfway through that year. So I just presumed she had to be world number 1 as well. So, all right, 3 out of 5. I'm not too upset with that.
No, I think that's a good outcome, Hooky. I reckon if we did this again, though, I reckon you'd be close to 5 out of 5. It's been very informative.
Well, I'll tell you what has been informative, Sophie, is your understanding, your insight, your expertise into this event. I'm looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it anyway. I'm looking forward to it even more now. Thank you so much for all of the research and information you have provided. It gets underway Thursday morning, Adelaide time. So that will be Wednesday in the United States. The 2 rounds at Champions Retreat. The practice round on the Saturday, which everyone gets a shot at. So this will be, that's on the Friday. Everyone gets a shot at that regardless of whether they've made the final 30. And then hopefully on Sunday morning, we'll be watching Raegan Denton teed up around Augusta National. So
fingers and toes crossed for that, Hooky.
And then she'll be back playing for you the following week in pennant golf. I think you guys, who do you take on? Blackwood?
I think we're taking Blackwood on the first week that she's back. So we will be very excited to hopefully have an ANWA winner competing with us.
I suspect she gets Ebony Riordan. Poor old Ebony will be wondering what she signed up for if she walks in and maybe takes on the Augusta National Women's Amateur Champion in a couple of weeks' time. So incredible, mate. Well done. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. We'll be back next week with our traditional episode. Of course, we've got pennant previews to get through next week, so we've still got plenty of content on the way. Well done. We'll see you next week.
Hooky, thanks so much. See you next week.
With the last putt sunk, that's a wrap on this golf edition of Hooked on Sport. Thanks for listening. Help us meet more golfers just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company on the next golf edition of Hooked on Sport.